This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, long time no see.
It's been a while. Are you keeping
Been a
well?
while. How's it going? You good? Having a good day?
All good so far. Rain has just stopped, which is lovely.
Nice. You're in your conservatory today.
Yes, I can take the dog for a walk. He will
And-
not walk if it's raining. Little
Oh,
stubborn dog.
yeah, he's a very precious dog at the moment, sounds like. I saw you put some photos of him going for a walk in, where were you? Is it the Whittenham Club?
Oh, into the white horse. We like the white
White
horse.
Horse.
Yeah. We like it's close to here, so it's quite a
Okay.
nice little walk. He saw sheep for the first time.
Was he scared of sheep?
He was not interested. I think the sheep were more interested in him.
Okay.
He's
Does
a
he get
big.
attention when he goes out?
Sorry?
Does he get a lot of attention when he goes out?
Oh, too much. Oh, so cute, so cute, so cute. It's quite disgusting, actually. And then he
That's
doesn't.
exactly what you do to other things, by the way, Eric.
I
Just
know.
so you're
So
aware.
annoying. Now he's yeah, he walks 5 steps and then he wants to be picked up. He's like, enough. He doesn't like lots of people, or like he just gets overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
he's fine if it's like just the empty field or whatever. But as soon as there's other people or dogs, then he comes straight away, wants to be picked up.
Mm.
Right. So, I mean, actually, I've been thinking about, and it's about, brings our topic, is whether I get a dog walker for him or whether I should just keep doing it myself, right? Because sometimes I'm busy. Sometimes I'm in meetings back to back the whole day.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at whether I should outsource. People will actually come to the house and take him for a walk and then bring him back, right?
And so what's the pros and cons for what at the moment in your decision making, what's the pros and cons? Is that what you're thinking about? Is it worth it from a time point of view, money point of view? Something, is it better for him in terms of amount of walk time he gets?
Exactly. And it's exactly what we think about whether we're outsourcing our marketing, right? Same decision making. Well, firstly, for me, is trust, right? Because I'm trusting my baby with somebody. And then it's the same with marketing, right? You're trusting your brand or somebody else. You're trusting your voice. You're trusting your imagery. Whatever you're outsourcing, you're trusting with someone else. I mean, there is a layer that you can check it before you let it out into the world, but there is still that trust element.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the trust. It's yeah. I mean, I was recently doing a project where I had to say goodbye to the team that I was working with, the external resource, because they just were not delivering as agreed and the quality that we agreed upon. So from that point of view, it's really frustrating because you never want that to happen. But having an external resource does mean that you can just say goodbye and find something else in a short time frame in comparison to having a team internally, and then they're not up to scratch. It's very hard to be able to move on from that team and hire a new team. That can take months and months and months.
Absolutely.
So that is a benefit of an external team if you're not gelling or if it's not going right. The internal resource can take a long time.
I guess
Sometimes
that's the benefit of the notice of the, what's it called?
the
We've both gone blank.
notice period. Notice period?
No,
No.
it's not notice period. It's probation.
Probation, that's what.
But that's the benefit of probation, right? On hiring, is that you can,
Yeah.
but then the trick is to make the decision, pull the trigger quickly, because you'll quickly know whether it's working or not. Don't keep trying. I've had some examples, not me. Well, I have had some horror stories with my own hiring, but
Yes.
not you, Alex. You were not a horror story. But I don't think I ever hired you, right? No, I never
Yeah.
hired you. But some people I've worked with have kept extending probation periods, right? And you're like, oh, come on, you kind of saw the writing on the wall. Why are you extending? So it's about pulling, and even with, no, same with suppliers, right? Even with outsourcing, if it's not working, pull the trigger quickly. Don't
Yeah.
keep trying,
Yeah.
because you can burn through a lot of cash and still get nowhere.
No, exactly. And the onus is on you, the hirer,
No.
to make that decision. Um, and you just need to, yeah, be brave and do it. I mean, this recent project that I did, it set me back probably nearly 3 weeks or something like that, when I already had a relatively tightish deadline, but ultimately it was worth it. It was quite a bit of a pain whilst it was happening, but the end product now is much better. So I'm very happy I did that. Um, and yeah, I think there was a time when maybe I would have fought it a little bit more.
Mm.
Painful process where I realized that it's much better just to pull the band-aid, pull the plaster off as quick
Pull
as
the
you can.
plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're wiser now. We've been through the pain. We're a little bit wiser.
Yeah, exactly. But also with the external teams, um, they're just brilliant. They are brilliant for small businesses as well. I mean, I think it's a great way to get you where you're needing to go. And eventually, if that's the type of business you want to grow, you can start bringing resource in slowly as your business builds. But some people don't want to do that either. And some people would like just to rather um, have external teams. It depends on what your preference is. Me personally, if I was running a business just by myself, I wouldn't want to be managing people, really. It's not really my style. It's not really what I'd like to do. And I would be much more comfortable running my own thing with external teams. And I think that actually is just a preference thing for me. I know other people who would rather build people around them,
Mm.
and have internal staff, and that's it would be something that works for someone else, but for me it wouldn't.
Well, I mean, from a small business perspective, that it's also projections, right? Because it's, as a business owner, worrying about your own revenue and whether you can pay your bills, and that is one thing, right? Making sure your house stays in order. But when you start employing people, you start,
Mm.
there's an accountability. I think you need to be sure on your revenue streams, on your projections, that you're not, I mean, you don't want to not feed yourself because you've got staff to pay.
Yeah.
So I think for small business, that's really where the line is. Number one, do you have enough work for them? Because for a full-time employee, they need to be busy, right? You need to have enough work. If you just have ad hoc jobs, it's probably better to outsource.
Yeah.
But even then, you can build a relationship with your outsource partner, that they start understanding your brand, perhaps with a future opportunity that when things turn for your business, you can bring them on board more, right?
And I think, again, something you just touched on is it's about the relationships that you build, because you can, like you said, after a while, build a really good relationship with that team where they've become an extension because you've been working with them a while and you've taken the time to build that relationship and business understanding and brand understanding as well. And then it can almost become part of an internal team effectively because of the journey you've taken them on.
And I think that's an important point, because it has to be that. I think too many people send a brief. If you think about a copywriter, right? You send a brief, write me a blog on blah, blah, blah. It comes back and then you rewrite it, right? You fix it in the tone of voice you wanted, or there's some context that's wrong, whatever. But you never go back, right? You never feed back I changed these things because of this. So you're not training them, which means every time you're going to get the same problem. If you're
Yes.
not having that conversation back going, I changed it for this reason, this is not the tone of voice we use, or we don't really want to say experts, or that's not a word we like, whatever. You have to feed back, or else you're going to get the same stuff to fix every single time. And I think that's a lot of the time when people outsource, they forget that back step. They forget that feedback loop in order to improve the quality for the next time. Would
Yes.
you agree?
I would absolutely agree. And there's even benefit in not making those changes yourself, going back with those comments rather than making the changes, because that's more of a steeper learning curve for them. Again, I understand that sometimes you need that post out yesterday.
Quickly, yeah. But then do it after the fact, right?
Yeah. So no, I think that's a great point. And nobody is psychic.
No.
Even if you're working with a brilliant team, exactly what you want.
And it's interesting because it was a staff member, you would take the time, right? If it was a full-time employed staff member, internal, you would take the time to talk them through it and say, this is our brand voice and this is why I want to change or whatever. And so we think the work will be less with outsourcing, but initially it's not.
Why do you think that is? Because what do you think the principal reason for that is? Because you see that they're tied to the business and they're an investment.
That probably is, right? Because they are an investment. Employing someone is an investment. And so you want to get the most out of your investment, where maybe outsourcing is seen as an expense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I do think, like, I know that we've had our challenges finding networks of suppliers. It can be difficult, finding
quality.
Quality, yeah. And the range of the costing of external suppliers in relation to others, it's like it can vary a lot. For example, I was making a video a couple of months ago, and I did my normal scouting around. I went to about 6 or 7 different agencies, businesses that could help me with it, and it ranged from like £1,000 per video to £15,000 per video for exactly the same thing. So there's also a huge, it's difficult to find the right balance between am I getting a good value for money, or like what quality I don't know it's hard to explain exactly what I mean, but there's a lot of work that you have to do to understand the value that they almost forget about what the cost is, I guess. If you can, obviously you have to, because when they said £15,000 to me for a 30-second video, I was like, no, straight away. That was just a deal breaker. I don't care if you've got Oscars or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's too much. But you need to do a lot of groundwork and research into various different options. One, do you get on with the person? That's always a big one for me. B, is it within your budget, or is it something that you could maybe tweak a little bit more? C, do they seem to have the right quality or style that matches with you? Because maybe it might be that they don't have the right style. They are brilliant, but their style doesn't quite match your brand. You can't really like push the square peg into the round hole. Then it's never going to work. You need to find that right balance as well.
So is that not exactly the same considerations when you hire someone?
Yeah, it is.
It is, isn't it? But we take the time when we hire someone, where most people are much more open to doing the interviews, doing the research, asking the questions. But we're much quicker when we want something designed to go on Fiverr and take the first person who wants to do it for £2.
Yes, that's true.
It's so interesting, isn't it? There's no research. Do you remember we did that once? We got a couple of years back, we got a Fiverr logo and then found out he just copied it from someone else's website.
Yeah.
And luckily we found out, right, before we went to presented it to the clients.
Yes.
That would have been a disaster.
That would have been a
But how
disaster.
many people don't do that work, right?
No, exactly. That you need to do your due diligence, but it does. I think it is vital that you need to shop around. You not go to the first person that you see.
And I'm trying to get an ad hoc designer now, because my design skills are zero, as I've been told many times. So I'm trying to get someone just to help me on an ad hoc basis, because I don't have enough for full time, but I need a little bit of help. And I'm thinking about, do I build a relationship with a person, right? So that they might go to, they start understanding my brand. But there's also these agencies now, right, that offer you unlimited designs for £50 a month or whatever. That I'm also investigating, right? Thinking, well, maybe that's the way, because then you have a backup if it's a team and the designer's off sick and you need something, at least, there's a team to do it. Whereas if you just have a one person, and they're obviously, sickness happens and all that kind of stuff, but then you're kind of stuck.
Yes.
So there's also that kind of understanding in terms of outsourcing. Do you outsource
to single person or multiple,
or do you go the group route? Sometimes it's cheaper to go the group benefit route, right? Because then they've got enough work to pay people full time, really, but just not on your account.
Yeah. Have
you had experience with that? Have you?
I haven't done too much with the group from a design point of view. No.
I know you do most of your design yourself. That's the thing. So design's not a good example for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've done no, not particularly. I've mostly try and. I think my preference is try and find the person. Especially if it comes from a design point of view, because I know exactly what I want. But
and even that's important, right? I mean, our most successful TV production relationship was with an agency that knew how to handle us exactly. We knew the quality would be perfect. We knew the deadlines would be met. We knew the price would be perfect, and they handled us well because we're both stubborn. If we say we want a white shirt with a black stripe on the collar, get me the white shirt with a black stripe on the collar. Like, don't offer me a pink one or a purple one or whatever. Like, that's the shirt. Don't argue, get me that shirt. And so it's also about how they handle you, right? I think that's part of the equation.
Yeah.
Whereas recently I'm trying to arrange a wine tasting, and I did 3 quotes. And the one quote, this is what I need. Wine tasting for 30 people for 2 hours. That's it. The quote I got back had food and pot plants and flowers and no, wine tasting for 30 people for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's what I asked for.
Yeah.
And then the next quote was exactly that. We can do 4 whites, 4 reds with education on each. Included is a bottle of water and a spittoon. Yes, that's wine tasting for 30 people for 2 hours, right? First one had pot plants. Why would I need pot plants in my wine tasting?
That's a bit. It's like going into the shoe shop and saying, "Look, I want some shoes. And then they just start offering you t-shirts.
There probably was a reason for the pot plants, but I think it's also they could have offered me the pot plants later, like as an upsell.
No, exactly.
Not stuck it into the first quote, because then all I'm stuck with is this huge budget. And I'm like, what? And then when I look into it, it has pot plants and then of course the comment is, you can take stuff away. Not a good way to do a budget, guys. Don't offer the big price and then downsell, right? Because the big price is stuck in people's head now. That's the price that's stuck.
Yeah. You give them the variation. can't remember. I remember we had a good example of someone used to do that. I can't remember what it was, but you'd get exactly what you wanted. Budget A, budget B. Okay, this is a slightly more enhanced one with a little bit more bells and whistles, everything that we can do for you that we think would completely enhance your project. Blah, blah, blah. At least I can see, okay, this is what I want. Oh, okay. If I'm feeling a little bit flush, I might go for the next one, for example.
Mm.
But yeah, and I don't like that. Just coming at you with a huge budget from stuff that you didn't ask for, and what you did ask for is lost in this budget completely. I hate that.
And that also breaks down your trust of the future relationship, right? Because you're like, what else are you going to sucker me with as we're working together?
Yeah.
Where else am I going to get all these surprises? Because no one likes a surprise.
No. Yeah, actually, that reminds me of something else I had as well. Where I got given a budget, and because they were trying to reach my budget. So, for example, let's say it was £4,000. At that, so they said everything here is £4,000, and then they had another page which was like optionals, which came up to like an additional £1,500. But they weren't optionals. They're the things that you needed for the project to be done, like voiceovers, music, or ready for TV or whatever it was. It's like, what, I can't have a finished product without those things, and it. This is really cheeky. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. What would be a better way for them to present it is to say, we can't meet your budget with your requirement for your budget. Actually, exactly the same story, but with different messaging. For your requirement, it's going to cost 5,000. For your budget, we can unfortunately only give you this, which means you'll have to do your own voiceovers, you'll have to do your own whatever. So the same information, but packaged differently for you to be clear that, because and we've done this, right? We've undercut ourselves to meet a client's budget. That's never a good thing to do. So rather be honest and say, for your requirement, I can't meet your budget. This is it. However, if you can, if you can't, then say, I can't meet your budget. Done. If you cut out music and we only find freebie music, then whatever. So give solutions, right?
Yeah. Instead of just hiding it on the back page.
Yeah, instead of definitely not hiding it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, another thing that happened to me recently is, and it is an instant no for me. I just like people to be honest with me and just authentic. So, for example, I spoke to someone, they're like, "Oh yeah, so I've been on your website. Looks great, love it. Your messaging is great." Blah blah blah. I was actually in the process of doing a new website, and because the messaging and stuff we had was terrible. The website was really terrible. And I said, "Oh, that's funny because I'm actually just I'm working on a new website because this one's really terrible and the messaging really doesn't work." Yeah, actually, like I was thinking that it didn't seem to really resonate with what you were telling me before, and I think maybe it looks a bit outdated. That for me, it's just terrible. That sounds like a yes person. Yes, yes, yes. I feel like I want. That makes me think that when we get back to the feedback stage of whatever work we're doing, I'm not going to be getting honest feedback. I'm just going to be told what want that.
Yeah. And again, all of these points that we're raising, isn't it interesting how similar it is between the hiring decision and the outsourcing decision? Because even in hiring, because the person is trying to get the job, right? They really want the job. Same with the outsource. They really want the job. They're trying to tell you what they think you want to hear, but it's actually doing them a disservice because you're sitting there going, what else are you lying about?
Yeah, exactly.
How fascinating. So, Alex, I don't think we've reached a decision whether I'm going to outsource my dog walking or not. It's going to be up to the pros and cons, right? I think that's really where do you need to sit to say, what's my style? What do I like? What's my trust factors? What's my poor doggy like? Is he going to like strangers? how much does he really need to walk? Does he really need to walk that often?
Yeah. Well, in this case, I think you mostly need to think about the dog. When are they going to get the most doggy time?
Yeah.
That's the
And
most
then go through the recruitment process as I would at hiring a person, right?
Yeah, and there's something to think about because sometimes you'll get a dog walker who have a million dogs, and there can be trouble between the dogs, and you do need to be careful with that.
I mean, I can insource it and give my children to do the job, but I am not sure that I can trust them. And finding another child is impossible. Or I'll have to wait, what? How many years till I can get them to walk the dog? So, yes, not insourcing.
Well, I think maybe you need to give it a try, like you were saying. Try it, see if it works. Good trial period, maybe.
Maybe. Awesome. Well, the sun is out. I think
Yeah,
I'll
the
just go
sun's
and
just
do a
come out.
dog walk.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Chat to you later.
Yeah, bye-bye. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.